What I'm going to share with you today is taken from a series that I wrote last year, and it's entitled, He's a Housekeeper Too. It's based on a little tract that changed my life when it came to meeting with Christ. It was called My Heart, Christ, Home. And we actually passed those out a couple events ago. We passed those tracts out. It just really has rocked my world and made it to where, you guys, God's approachable. He's really approachable. But what it did is it compared the rooms of our home with rooms in our heart. And I'm going to just go through a few rooms with you today. But as I was rereading the series that I wrote last year, that he wrote through me, I have to tell you, I began to panic. And the reason I began to panic is, first of all, I was blown away by the intimacy that he wrote through me of not so much the junk in my heart, or the junk that I had helped walk through in somebody else's heart, but his response to that junk. And I thought, Lord, how am I going to convey that message to them? I can't stand up here and read you a bedtime story. And a little heads up, not that I'm promoting anything, but it will be in Cup of Hope in October, November. The series will be in that book. But I couldn't think of how to do it. And he gave me away. And so I hope that you are going to be able to really soak in the responses, which to me is the most important part of the message. Again, not so much the junk that's in the heart, but Daddy's response to that junk. I'm going to go through the main rooms of the heart and share some of the dirt and grime, which is important to recognize. But I'm not going to hit every room. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the biggest ones. Okay, so as the skit indicated, many of us leave him standing at the front door. But today, I'd like you to imagine letting him into each of these rooms that we're going to explore. Now, he doesn't come in with a white glove. He doesn't come in with a noisy vacuum cleaner. He doesn't come in with a shop vac. I used to think that, he's up there playing Monopoly with my life, and that's just not how he is. And he doesn't for many of us. He does not do it all at once. It's important that you know that. He's not going to bring in knives and saws to cut away the chains of bondage that bind us. Nor is he going to use bleach to clean all of the buildup from old and not so good habits. See, he already knows what's in each of those rooms. And his plan is not to hurt you, not to harm you, but to build you up, to give you a hope and a future. And he couldn't do that if he was abrupt and mean and cruel. Let's start with the study. And by all means, take your tablet out. You may want to take some notes. This is being recorded, but you may want to take some notes. Now, the study could be your office. I want to equate the office and the study with your mind. Now I'm going to go first, but feel free to imagine him in your study. Now I don't know about you, but in my home, this room of my mind is fairly small with thick walls. I guess that's why people say I'm hard-headed. And if you want confirmation, ask my husband. The mind is the control room of the house because wherever your thoughts are, there is your heart too. You could also say that the mind is sort of like the thermostat for the house. So let's go through the door and see what we find. The bookcase. What are you reading? What goes in is what comes out. You've all heard garbage in, garbage out. I can remember in my long season of singleness reading books that had some content. And I have to tell you, what I read influenced my thoughts, and it only drove home the fact that I was single. I had to commit to avoiding those types of books that stirred those kinds of thoughts. Instead, I now stick to books that speak truth, encouragement, things that help keep the heart clean and not make it dirty. How about that computer? This is a subject that he gave me some real straight talk. And the reason he did that is because he wants no misunderstandings. We unfortunately are not wise to the enemy's schemes to tempt us and lure us away. Long ago, God promised that before his final return, every person in every corner of his creation would hear of him. They will have the opportunity to accept him as their personal savior. The computer is one of those tools to make that happen. While this is a good thing, the truth is, Satan has gotten into cyberspace. The computer has brought so much evil because of its misuse. For example, it's become a weapon to many, and though it is connecting people all around the world, it's ripping families apart. There's millions of its kids suffering in silence with pornographic addictions, made easier to feed by the click of a button. The world's cure for loneliness has spread over cyberspace, and men and women alike are leaving a covenant of marriage in the enticement and excitement of a new relationship revolutionized by the computer. As far as the East is from the West, men are using the computer to entice lost children to them and bring harm to them. Millions of people are being sold in the most horrific crime of human trafficking. So some of his straight talk that he wrote through me had to do with spending more time on the computer than with him. While Facebook is connecting us with people around the world who we have lost touch with, which is a good thing, our connection with our Creator is dwindling. And he is longing for us to stay in touch because he desires to be first in our hearts. When I thought about all that we had talked about, and I know this question has to be running through your mind, why? Why don't you just put a stop to it? His words reminded me of his sovereignty and of his grace.
I took away the gift of choice and made everyone choose me. It wouldn't have been necessary for me to endure all that I did. That freedom to choose who and what my kids would live for cost me everything. I tell you these things so that the eyes of your heart will be open, and you will be careful and mindful of the enemy's schemes. But do not be dismayed or discouraged about this cleaning task, for I am with you always. I will never leave you or forsake you. Whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things.
When this office study is clean, whatever business you conduct in and from there will have eternal